What's this? It's in Grand Canyon near the intersection of Bright Angel and Tonto trails. This is a fun one because the result was not what I expected. First, a little context helps find the solution. This area, formerly known as Indian Garden, has been occupied for thousands of years, most recently, before the Westerners came, by the Havasupai tribe. It was renamed Havasupai Gardens in 2023. But the Havasupai were one of the many groups to occupy the area. Recently, during pipeline construction, a Hopi grave was found, and half a dozen distinct native peoples inhabited the area, dating way back to the ancestral Puebloans. Prehistoric pictographs along Bright Angel Trail are evidence of this. Initially, the structure seemed similar to an ancestral Puebloan granary, like this one on North Rim. But this construction was too crude to be consistent with that possibility. No, this structure was not built by any of the native people. Starting in the late 1800s, this land was controlled by Ralph Cameron through a series of mining claims. Some mines were actually successful, but tourism turned out to be the real gold in the canyon. Cameron started a tourist camp at Indian Garden, and he is the one who planted the grove of cottonwood trees that gives the area its distinct characteristic. Before that, it was sparsely vegetated. Considering the various peoples who inhabited and altered this area, simply calling it the Garden would be a more accurate naming choice. Nonetheless, the specific area we were looking at was developed most recently for tourism purposes. Early morning, mid-June, come up Tonto Trail a little bit to explore what this structure is. What it is unknown. I think there's probably three possibilities. First, perhaps an ancestral Puebloan granary, but the structure doesn't look quite right. Secondly, there have been two buildings in this vicinity, a caretaker's cottage and a Kolb studio annex, and perhaps they use this for cold storage. Third, there had been a contingency of the CCC based here at what was then Indian Gardens, now Havasupai Gardens, and maybe they built this for fun on the weekend. Those young guys had a lot of energy. So let's go up and see what we can find out and what we can extrapolate from what we see. Having made a little scramble up the hill and looking at this structure, I would guess it is not ancestral Puebloan. I don't see, for example, how this would have kept their corn from getting eaten by mice. So I would guess it's either a weekend project of the CCC in the 1930s, or perhaps cold storage for one of the buildings that was here. Although I don't know how you would keep rodents out. So my guess is this is a construction project of the CCC when they had extra time on their hands. Those young men, 17 to 25 years old, had a lot of energy. As I hiked further that day, I rejected the CCC as the source. I did know that there was a Kolb photographic studio annex in the area, as well as a trail keeper's tent. I saw no purpose in the Kolb studio using the site, but I figured with the crude construction and the large door, that probably the trail keeper used the site to store equipment like shovels, wheelbarrows, and trail tools out of the sun and the weather. That would probably explain the large opening, which was likely covered with a wooden door. And old photos show the distinctive rock formation in relatively close proximity to the trail keeper's tent. But that was wrong as well. Returning home, I did some research, and the result makes total sense, but was outside the scope of my consideration because of the myopia created by modern conveniences. And if you know what these structures are on Hermit Trail, you'll know the answer. I didn't poke around inside the structure, probably because I was apprehensive of meeting another rattler like the one I almost stepped on the trail. But there's another reason, and I'm glad I did not explore inside. A 1916 survey of the buildings in the area establishes that this structure was a toilet or privy for the trail keeper who resided nearby. That makes total sense. The structure did not need to be wind or rodent-proof. The large opening was likely covered by a wooden door, and the location, a distance from the tent, provided adequate convenience, but also isolation from the side effects of its function. If you want to find this structure for yourself and determine what you think it is, it's right off Bright Angel Trail, near the cutoff from Tonto, almost directly east from that square stone structure, which is a pump house for the old Trans-Canyon pipeline. So what this is was hidden from me by my modern expectation of flush toilets and conveniences, but absolutely clear with some historical perspective and research. What is this? A latrine or toilet for the laborer who lived in the trailkeeper's tent. So now you know. Grand Canyon, a place of spectacular beauty that also holds some interesting human history.